In terms of significance, I think it is quite significant. Having said that, though, I think it's quite late. We actually wanted to open source this much sooner. We wanted to build out open source, and we wanted to have the building process completely open as well. But for those who remember, the original onset part of the project with this was Trust EVM, which was a completely separate team. And I mentioned a long time ago that the largest stakeholder for EVM essentially was the EOS network. And people didn't really know what that means. From a legal point of view, it's 100% the networks. And so there was a shift there where we decided to take it over from the Trust EVM team. But as we were going through that process, then it made the open sourcing at that time and subsequent to that quite difficult. And so we wanted from the very beginning for that to be the case. But unfortunately, it couldn't, just for logistical challenges and renaming of GitHub repos, a bunch of different things in there anyways. And you can see some of that legacy if you go look at the repo right now. And so as a fundamental principle, though, so having put that transition to EOS EVM component aside, from a philosophical point of view or a fundamental values point of view, it is very important for me. It is, it's primordial. Basically, it's one of the reasons why I'm in this space, that everything we do is open source. I believe that this space exists in the way that it exists, in part because of that fundamental value of building out in the open and in the spirit of collaboration. And one of the things that differentiates people is less so their IP, but it is their capacity to execute. And so for me, it's incredibly important to have not only what we do at the ENF be open source, not just after it's built, but during the building process, and also to provide the mechanisms for community to be part of that building process, that is still a work in progress in itself. And so it's not just building out in the open, it's not just having it in the open, it's also creating the conditions so people can come and provide impact and feedback and input into that process. And so I fundamentally believe this is one of the values of Web3. I think that's what spurred a lot of the innovation in Bitcoin originally. I think it's what spurred the majority of the innovation early on and still to this day in the Ethereum community. And for me, it's really important to have that at the forefront. The other side of things as well, which kind of is irrelevant to this, but in a way very worthy of mention, everything that we do within the ENF comes from the budget that is enabled to us and that is essentially forwarded our way, or that we are made stewards of from the EOS token holders. And so as much as I also understand this idea that there's value in keeping IP closed in order to be able to potentially monetize that for the benefit of token holders in terms of the business case, business sense, I think that there's way more value that can be unlocked by building out in the open and being able to share what it is you're working on in a way that enables others to be able to leverage off of it, contribute to it, and essentially amplify it and make it better. And so a long-winded way to say that for me, open source it's a requirement. It is one of the fundamental beliefs I have in Web3, is that things should be open source, and that collaborative nature, that collaborative approach that got us to where we are is why we are where we are right now. So very important.